Hello, welcome again to FairTax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are
the FairTax guys.
There we go. Coming to you live from Big Daddy Studios in Gainesville, Florida. And it is just after 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, September the 26th. So if you're watching this live version of FairTax Power Radio, we do invite you to give us a call here. Our number is 888-787-8023. They'll put that up on the screen here in just a second, but it's 888-787-8023 if you'd like to be live on the program with us today. And, of course, as we always do, we invite you to email us at thefairtaxguys@gmail.com and like us on our Facebook page and send us questions and comments there as well, because we will deal with them here on FairTax Power Radio.
Yep. Hey, Bob Paxton joined us.
Yes, I did.
Great.
Okay.
Good.
I hope so. We have got trouble tonight, but let's keep our eye on Congress. One of the things we always like to do here on FairTax Power Radio, right out of the box, we are keeping track of how many changes to the tax code your Congress critters up there in Washington, D.C. are trying to do. And what we're doing, if you want to follow along at home, is you go to congress.gov and you use the search function up there to search on the string, put the words in quote, Internal Revenue Code. And you will get back all of the legislation that contains that string.
Right.
And as of right now, let's see, I got to scroll back up to the top and see what the number is. 1,572 hits you get on that turn. So that's oh, my ear itches here. Hang on. So that's that is the extent to which your Congress critters are messing with the tax code. And it's amazing, Ron. Remember, we were told last December that this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was the end-all, be-all, perfect. No,
yeah, that was it.
Actually, they did not say it was the perfect solution, but they did say that this was going to fix all this stuff. And even still, while the debate on that issue was still going on last winter, people were still, the Congress critters were still getting tax, contributions from their lobbyist friends and putting up tax reform proposals. And we sort these out by date here.
Almost 1,600 proposals to change the tax code since the 115th Congress was sworn in, not quite 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, so we've got this sorted now by date of introduction, and a couple of them were introduced yesterday, including something from Representative Mark Meadows in North Carolina, H.R. 6890, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide for the designation of qualified opportunity zones every 10 years. Well, I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds good.
I know that the entire country would be an opportunity zone if we passed the fair tax.
Oh, absolutely.
When you get rid of the income tax and all the compliance costs that go along with the income tax and the IRS, and you turn business loose to do what they do, which is increase business and create jobs, the entire country will be an opportunity zone. You won't need people in Congress trying to create opportunity zones. They'll be everywhere, every square mile of this country. So
here's something else that was introduced yesterday by Representative Coleman Watson of New Jersey, H.R. 6873, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to extend the Earned Income Tax Credit to all taxpayers with dependents and to qualifying students and, of course, for other purposes. How cool is that?
For other purposes.
And, of course, this is one we just galls your gizzard sometimes when you see how the Congress critters are trying to use the tax code to change your behavior. H.R. 6871, to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to allow for a credit against tax for placing in service qualified broadband property to expand the level of broadband service in a qualified rural census tract. So in other words, you take the internet out to the sticks and you'll get a tax credit.
I guess, isn't that the purview of business? I mean, don't our businesses, cable companies and whatever, aren't they the ones that are providing cable service or internet service to people
like that,
all over the country? Why does Congress have to get... If Congress wants to stimulate through the tax system, if they want to stimulate business, get rid of the income tax.
My guess is a lobbyist for one of these telecommunications companies saw an opportunity to get a favorable tax treatment for their client, and they said, "Oh, if we're going to go out and perform this service, you ought to give us a tax break."
Oh, so you think they would do that?
I can guarantee you there's a lobbyist behind that one.
You think they would really do that, Bob? And they go to the congressman, and I mean, this is an altruistic proposal here. That they are just looking out for the people.
I have got some oceanfront property in Kansas City that I will sell you real cheap if you want to believe something like that. Yeah. Okay, anyway, a reminder, our number, 888-787-8023. If you've got a question or a comment about the FairTax, we would love the opportunity to talk to you. And let's remind everybody here, in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking to Carrie Bowers.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right.
Light bulb just went on, didn't it?
Yeah, I apologize, folks. My wife and I were on vacation last week. We got home late the other night, and I'm still playing catch-up. So I am a little bit behind here. But, Carrie Bowers is, we got messed up a couple of weeks ago, and we planned to have him because the studio had something else going on. But very knowledgeable about the FairTax. Long-time serviceman. He was an Air Force pilot and a businessman, and really knowledgeable about the FairTax. So we're looking forward to having Carrie on. Yeah. And this time we're going to make it.
This time we're going to make it. Hopefully we won't have any conflict with the studio here.
Yeah.
But as I say, we encourage people to get a hold of us, fairtaxguys@gmail.com, or on our Facebook page as well. And we do respond to messages that come in that way, and we're going to do that right now. There was a gentleman named John Roman who sent us a question on our FairTax Guys Gmail address.
Yep.
And it basically was asking, what is going to happen to all of the state income taxes when the FairTax, and I like his optimism there, when the FairTax becomes law,
right?
What happens to all the state income taxes that are currently in place? Like 45 of the 50 states have a state income tax right now.
And he had a second question about the sales tax, the state sales tax, and so forth. But let's handle that first one first. All right.
All right. Well, the first one is there's no way to tell because the states are somewhat sovereign entities, and I would imagine, and I'm just kind of going by experience off the top of my head here, that states like California, New York, and Massachusetts, and New Jersey, these high tax places, I would imagine that they will want to hang on to their income tax, even with the fair tax at the federal level.
They will.
That they would want to do that. And exactly how every state is going to respond to the fair tax, again, is something that we can't fully predict because that will vary by state, I'm sure.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
The states are individual little sovereignties. They shouldn't be beholden to their every move to the federal government, okay? So get the income tax out of the way. The states will do what they think is best for them. Mm-hmm. And if after a few years, if they think the income tax is hurting them, that people are moving away because of their income tax and going to states that have, wait a minute, that's happening now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's happening now.
You hear it a lot of time. You listen to Sean Hannity. He lives up there in New York, one of the highest tax states, and he has said repeatedly, Hannity, that when things are right, I assume that has to do with his kids in school and things like that, but when the thing is right, he is going to move either to Florida or Texas, one of those low-tax states. I don't think he's really decided where.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you run guys like that have a lot of money out of your state because you're taxing them to death, you would think that they'd get the idea that that's a bad idea. Stop that.
And the flow is constant. People on every day, by the hundreds, are moving from the high tax states that have an income tax and a sales tax, all right, and other taxes. They're moving to the states which, for instance, like Florida and Texas, Tennessee, and a number of others have only a sales tax and no income tax. Mm-hmm. And it's people are voting with their feet.
Yes, they are
getting the heck out of the high tax states. So whatever happens at the state level after the fair tax is passed, that is up to that individual state. If they don't want to give up their income tax, that's up to them. Fine. If they can function like that, or they want to, maybe reduce the income tax or something, that's up to them. That's the way it should be. That's the way the framers of the Constitution made it, so that the states, as you said before, the states are the laboratories for these different schemes, you might say.
Okay, shout out to Doug Bartlett, who's commenting on our video today. Hi, keep up the good fight. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that as well. Randy is coming up with a nice little thing. He says, after 3 years of fair tax, when the IRS fear factor is gone, the evasion rate of state income taxes is going to skyrocket. So it could be that the evasion rate that is plaguing all income taxes, especially at the federal level now, is going to just go through the roof, and the states will say, wait a minute, we've got to come up with a better system. So hopefully that'll work.
Yeah.
So
interesting point.
Good morning from Oregon to Maurice Yoder. Thank you for being with us today.
Oregon.
Great. Yeah, that's way out there on the left coast. There's some good folks out there. So we appreciate you being with FairTax Power. We'll advise folks, too, that if you've got friends and family that need to see this video, that need to watch the FairTax guys either live or get one of the archived versions later, to share this video as we're going along. Share it to your Facebook page. And again, also, we do want to encourage people that are watching on Facebook to check out excluded.tv because, you know, there are a lot of content on these major social media platforms, Facebook just being one of them, that is being censored, and we're going to exclude that because we don't like it. You know, it disagrees with our political philosophy, so we're not going to help you spread your message. So a lot of stuff is being excluded from these major social media platforms, and the place that you will see that stuff now is excluded.tv. It's a very modest $30 a year subscription, and there's all kinds of good stuff on there, including the FairTax guys. So.
And they've expanded. They've added another show there. I haven't got it in front of me, but yeah, Excluded is a good platform, and like Bob says, you can avoid the censorship of these big media types like Facebook and YouTube and so forth.
Sandy Goodell is making a good point that passing the fair tax would encourage states to compete with each other for business. You know, if you're a big business owner and you've got a choice to go to a state that has an income tax and a state that doesn't, you're probably going to go to the one that doesn't.
Yes,
so
that's right.
There's another thing that would hopefully pressure states to drop their income tax and adopt something like the fair tax on the state level, as I'm sure Georgia's already doing. I'm not sure how the process is going on like that. But this thought came to mind, and I brought it up on the webinar the other night, that if the fair tax is contingent, or the permanent implementation of the fair tax is contingent upon the repeal of the 16th Amendment. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when the 16th Amendment goes away, so does the constitutional authority at the federal level to collect an income tax. The Supreme Court ruled prior to the ratification of the 13th Amendment, so they tried to put an income tax in, and the Supreme Court knocked it down and said that was unconstitutional.
You mean
so
the 16th Amendment?
Did I say whatever?
Yeah.
16th Amendment. Old man's happens sometimes. But what happens when the 16th Amendment is repealed at the federal level? Does that make state income taxes unconstitutional? I asked that on the webinar. Randy didn't seem to think so.
No.
Seemed to think that states could. But I would bet you somebody somewhere will challenge that in court.
Yeah.
And so
again, the states are allowed to do what they think is best for them. If they want a state income tax, that's up to them.
But there's also a principle that says the states cannot implement laws that are contrary to federal law. And if it is against the law constitutionally to have an income tax at the federal level, a case could be made.
That's going to be interesting.
That it's so I don't know. It's something that the courts are undoubtedly going to have to decide, because I would imagine that somebody is going to challenge the constitutionality of a state income tax when there's no 16th Amendment anymore.
Huh.
So that would be quite interesting. Again, let's encourage folks to call us, 888-787-8023. If you're watching, it is now 11:44 a.m. on Wednesday, the 26th of September. So if you are catching the live version here, as opposed to watching one of the archived versions or listening after the fact on one of the podcasts, that you invite us to give us a call at 888-787-8023, because we took John's question. And we just kind of thought, let's just take today's episode and answer questions about the fair tax.
Yeah.
And if people don't have questions about the fair tax to call in and ask us, well, there is a whole list. We will go through this before. We have done this
there's
before.
another one of John's questions I'd like to handle.
Go ahead.
Okay. And first off, this is it is assumed that the 40-plus states that have income taxes will automatically buckle. No, I don't think they'll automatically buckle.
Some will.
I think the states will do, as I said, what they think is best for them. I think eventually the idea of an income tax is going to wear out, and eventually, but I don't know how long eventually is.
Yeah, I think Sandy's got it nailed that the competition for business is the states with an income tax are going to be at a horrible disadvantage when it comes to attracting businesses to their states.
But the second question had to do, and we get this frequently, so you're going to put a 23% sales tax, the fair tax is 23% on all goods and services, and if you're in a state that has a sales tax, which 45 of the 50 states have a sales tax, is that going to be added on top of that? All right, you're mixing two things, all right? What happens with the federal taxation is a separate issue. If 45 states have had a sales tax and had them for a number of decades, that's not going to change, okay? So, yes, if you're going to buy something and there's going to be the 23% fair tax in there, whatever the state sales tax is, that's going to be on there too. And people are thinking, well, if the state has a 7% sales tax, that's 30%. Yeah, but what are we forgetting about this? All right? What are we getting if we put in a 23% sales tax? What are we leaving behind? The income tax, your payroll tax, all forms of income tax. All that stuff goes away. So let's not forget, it's not just as simple as they're going to put a 23% sales tax. There's a lot else going on that's going to be very beneficial, like you're going to get your entire paycheck or retirement distribution check as we're getting, okay? All that's going away. You're also going to get, your family's going to get the prebate, assuming you are a legal resident of this country, okay? So you're going to have more spending cash. The 23% sales tax is going to go in there on all new products and services, not used products. Used products will not be subject to the fair tax, all right? And so, yes, there's going to be this big sales tax in there, but you're going to have a lot more disposable cash. Everybody in this country is going to be in a better financial shape. So don't forget when they talk about, well, is that going to be added to the state sales tax? There's another element to this. There's a whole big element, and like the fact that you're going to be having more money in your pocket. So don't fall prey to that problem there, right there. Where you're going to add that to the state sales tax? What the state does is up to them. And my recommendation is go with the sales tax, get rid of your income tax, because it's a lot easier.
But let me recall something I remember one time somebody was asking a question along, well, if this 23% fair tax is going to be added to the cost of everything I've got, and my state has an 8% sales tax, that's 31% sales tax, and they were thinking kind of inside the box. When you think sales tax, you think when you take a $100 item to the cash register and there's an 8% sales tax, that $100 item on the shelf becomes $108 at the cash register. And this lady was afraid that the $100 item would become a $131 item if you got a sales tax on top of the fair tax. And we need to make note of the fact that the fair tax is inclusive.
That's right.
Meaning if you see an item on the shelf that has a price tag of $100, the fair tax is included in that $100. So if the state takes that adds their 8% to that $100, it would still be a $100 item becoming $108. Yep. You're not looking at a $100 item becoming a $131 or $135 item by adding the sales taxes on top of each other, because the fair tax is different from the state sales tax we've already got. So don't be afraid of when you hear I've got 31% worth of sales tax. Well, most of that is already included in the price tag that you see.
And keep in mind that this inclusive idea is not that radical. Right now, the income tax is inclusive. If you get a job someplace, and let's say just for round figures, that you agree on a salary of $50,000, you know you're not taking home $50,000 over the next 12 months, because a good portion of that is going to go to Uncle Sam. The salary you get includes the income tax. This is the way it's been for decades. Yeah. So the fair tax is the same concept, okay? The price of the product or service includes the fair tax.
Shout out to Roz Miller, a comment here on our video. Why does Rush Limbaugh do his radio show from Florida instead of New York City? It used to be New York City.
That's right.
Guess what? No state income tax. That's what brought him down here.
Thank you, Roz.
No question about it all. And Sandy raised another good one here. Sandy Goodell, since the tax will be on not new products, that should mean that the taxes on the sale of a used home will be negated. Or is the mortgage something like that? So, if you buy a pre-existing home, no fair tax on that purchase, Sandy.
Same with cars. And those are the two biggest items that a family usually purchases, a home and a car, all right? And if you buy used, no fair tax. Think about that.
Yeah, she's asking about a mortgage, too, about would that be considered a new product or service? We'll let Randy handle that one. But good question, Sandy. Appreciate you watching us. So again, 888-787-8023. I guess the technical problems we had with our phone a couple of weeks ago have scared some folks off from talking to us. You know, hello, you're on the air and there's nobody there. So 888-787-8023. If you've got a question about the fair tax, we'd like to talk to you this morning. Again, it's 11:51. Man, we're almost out of time here on Wednesday.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. So time flies when you've got a lot of questions to ask too.
Yeah.
So we've got John all taken care of, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions that he asked, and we do really appreciate people sending us in questions. Again, thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. You can get onto our Facebook page, you know, the Fair Tax Guys and so forth. You can leave comments there, and we've had some really good comments and questions, and things that have spurred discussion in these episodes of Fair Tax Power Radio. So especially when we're doing it live like this. All right, the comments on Facebook, the call-ins that we usually get, but you know that's when we hear from the people, it makes it for a great episode.
Yeah, but we've got a few minutes left here on this one, and we have done this before, but never on the video version of Fair Tax Power Radio. So let's go back, give credit to the folks here that maintain the fairtax.org website. www.fairtax.org. There's a lot of information there, including an FAQ. On how the fair tax is going to work. So let's just go through some of the questions that are in that FAQ. So if you'd like to follow along at home, fairtax.org, right across the top, there's a banner that says FAQs. You can pick on that. And the first question, I think, is one of the really good ones. Why not just exempt food and medicine from the tax? Wouldn't that be fair and simple? The answer to that is no. It would not be fair. It would not be simple to try to do that.
Really not be simple. And it would be subject to all kinds of fraud, you know, and criminal enterprises there. Just think about it. You go into a grocery store, under this scenario, you're exempting food and medicine, okay? Well, when you go into a grocery store, what's considered food? You know, are chips considered food?
Probably.
Yeah. How about beer? All right. Is that really a staple of life? I know it is for some people, but for... You know, so the country's going to have to decide, well, just what is going to be subject to the fair tax and what isn't. No.
Well, the problem is when you get into the business of giving exceptions, then you open the door to the lobbyists to say, my client needs this exception.
That's the other
part. Every exception you give means that you've got to raise the rate on everything else.
I know the lobbyists would like that idea.
That's insane.
Yeah. So that is a question that comes up every once in a while. Let's keep it simple, all right? The fair tax will be on all new products and services, and that includes food, and that includes medical services.
But you think about it, food and medical services are basic necessities. The tax on those items is given back to you through the prebate.
Yeah, that's
right.
So
you do not pay taxes on that anyway. You might take something out of your pocket when you go to the cash register, but you get it back on a monthly basis. We spent the entire show last week talking about the prebate.
Yeah.
And again, it's not chump change. A family of 2 adults and 2 children will get $631 a month in prebate to cover the taxes on their food and medicine. And so rather than complicating the system, opening the door to a bunch of lobbyists and what have you, just keep the tax on all new goods and services except education. That's considered an investment.
That's an investment in the future.
You don't tax education. So if you go to college, you don't have to pay the fair tax on your tuition.
Yeah.
But that is just so, the simplicity is one of the things that is just so beautiful about the fair. It is so easy. So simple. And if you start mucking it up with an exemption for this and an exemption for that, and we've got to make it fair, and it's fair as it already is.
Yeah.
Because you are reimbursed the fair tax you pay on your spending up to the poverty level. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We've got about 5 minutes left. You want to talk about the logo store again this week?
Oh, yeah. All right. Remember these things.
Oh, yes.
FairTaxLogoStore.org. FairTaxLogoStore.org. That's where you can buy these scrolling banners. And you take this to your next town hall for your congressman.
They ought to sell fair tax Rubik's cubes. They really should.
Yeah, but not everybody is capable of doing them. Like, I really don't even get into them. But I've mentioned these before. These pins are available, all right? You can wear these pins. I normally have a little lapel pin that says fair tax. but I figure with this shirt I don't really need it. But these pins, as I said before, my wife has these on the strap of her purse, and they attract attention. And when we go into a restaurant, all right, and we sign the bill, leave a FairTax pen. You can order these at the FairTax logo store. If you want information to pass out to people, you can buy packets of these information cards, palm cards, all right? Basic information about the FairTax on both sides. And a smaller, more convenient size is what we call our prebate card. Basic information about the FairTax on one side, the prebate schedule on the other. All right, this is going to show people, if you have a family of 2 adults and 3 kids, this is going to show them what their prebate is going to be. That gets people's attention when they find out they're going to get this monthly installment.
How would you like a tax system that gives you $631 a month? Yeah, I'll sign up for that.
And there are all kinds of other things, all right? The shirt, the hat. I buy these at the FairTax logo store. They have jackets. They have travel mugs. They have all kinds of things. Show your support for the FairTax. Show it visibly by buying these things, and give them. You can buy like a couple hundred of these, and then start giving them away to people. That's a good way to attract attention. So, FairTaxLogoStore.org. Go on there and get some stuff. Show your support for the FairTax. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Mentioned earlier, we've got our webinars going again. And
yes,
we've got our
that's
friend
right.
Jade Wiley, the CPA from Colorado out there. He was hosting this thing. So I watched that last Wednesday. And when's the next one going to be?
It's going to be December, I think it's 20th. It's the 3rd Thursday. We're going to do it quarterly. We used to do it every month, all right? And I think Larry Walters and Mark Maneri, they did a monthly webinar for 10 years, all right? And they finally decided they've got to pay attention to their family and so forth. Fortunately, Jade Wally, who is a CPA in Colorado, he has agreed to do these on a quarterly basis. We have a new platform, but it did take place last Thursday.
You talk about an authoritative voice on the FairTax, a CPA whose job it is to figure all that stuff out, and he loves it. So, Jade's a good guy. Thank you.
Yeah. So when we get closer, the FairTax guys will let you know. And there's a registration page and all that stuff. But, that's back in action.
Again, we invite you to send us questions and comments at thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. Like our Facebook page, send us comments and questions on our Facebook page. And if you ask a good one, we'll talk about you right here on FairTax Power Radio.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's just about going to wrap up this edition of FairTax Power Radio. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you'll be with us next week. Until we meet again, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Valero.
We are the FairTax Guys, reminding you again that the FairTax is America's big solution, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Oh, these income tax forms are way too complicated. There's got to be a better way. Who are you?
We're the FairTax Guys.
We've got a big solution for you.
What's that?
It's the FairTax. Completely eliminates the federal income tax system as we know it. No more withholding, no more payroll taxes, no more tax returns ever, no more IRS. All gone. And I guarantee you, once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Yeah.
We got to get rid